Hello, Martin. Welcome to episode 109 of Illuminating Rounds. How you doing?
I'm very well, thank you, Dave. Yeah, I was impressed. Then you gave me a warning that we were going, we were starting to record.
Yeah. Usually, I just turn up in your kitchen and we start chatting.
Sometimes I'm brushing my teeth or whatever.
You've had a haircut as well, or was this?
Yeah. So this is what normally happens. My sister shaved it for me, and we thought like about half an inch, but she got the wrong guard.
Okay.
So having done a. So it's actually grown since I've done it because it was about a week ago. I can feel the difference. I quite like it like this.
Yeah, it looks good. It looks good. I every time I have my haircut, I keep wondering why they keep taking more out of this bit here.
Yeah,
I don't like that. Stop that.
It's a very slight Hitler look, actually, isn't it? The way it's kind of slipped over and a little bit thin there. Is that what you're going for?
Yeah. I thought that's. I mean, dressed all in black. I got my finest equipment out. We're actually playing the SS today.
We are, yeah.
But some people don't like the black counters, so we are not using the black counters. We talked about this before. Views on black counters, Martin?
Do you know, I'm sure we probably have. But I think there's no need to discuss black counters. It's been done in considerable depth and quite passionately, actually, I think, on both sides.
Yeah.
I don't have a strong feeling, to be honest. I don't have a strong feeling.
But why don't you give your exact feelings? Because that way, then we
can get the
vitriol of the internet.
It's a colour. I'm not. I mean, I get the idea that treating the SS as a whole nationality, but everybody knows they're not a nationality, and I tend to take that black isn't sexy. I think this is the nub of it. People thought that black was sexy somehow. Black because you've got the leather and the whatever. I think this is just thinking too deeply about what kind of man you're attracted to. I don't think black's sexy. I just don't. It's just a colour.
Keep digging, Martin. I'm enjoying this.
What about you, Dave? I mean, let you say. What do you think about black SS counters?
If we lived in a world that I hadn't seen anybody's comments or thoughts over it, I thought they were quite cool. But I mean, given that people feel,
you think it's a sexy colour?
I don't think it's a sexy colour. I just think that if we take away, of course, we have to take away all the terrible things the SS did, and all the atrocities that happened in the war. But obviously, with perhaps the respect that I don't know what I'm talking about, so don't quote me on this. But of course, Victor's write the history, therefore the SS are seen as the worst in the war, and no doubt they were. And the Japanese are pretty bad. I don't doubt the Allies committed some atrocities too. So I'm not. But in general, it seemed like the SS obviously did a lot worse. The whole Holocaust thing is pretty indicative of that. But in terms of if we took all of that out, and I've said to you before, in terms of like sometimes I see this game as just like the Reds versus the Purples. Like it to me it's a game and it's a strategic game. So I don't necessarily play it for the historical accuracy. And therefore, when you look purely at the counter form, the SS counters are one of the strongest sets in the game. Okay, that's So obviously, we're taking away the whole historical, and therefore, it's like you're playing. In poker, if you have a great hand, and it's like I've got a royal flush here, and you've got lesser cards. My cards look better, and if I've got a stronger force, that stronger force looks better. And in general, the SS outperform counter for counter other units, with the exception perhaps of the top end Americans that they sometimes come up against. So they're often beaten by better troop quantity or tougher terrain to get through, or whatever it is that we know that. Let's assume that SS scenarios are fought half and half and with balance or whatever. So therefore, from that perspective, I mean they're a better troop. Higher morale level on the back, and better depletion numbers and all that kind of stuff. So from that perspective, they're cool. But of course, no. I mean, don't get me wrong. They don't deserve their own colour. I mean, that's not. But
no.
Yeah, it's so. Yeah, I think, like I say, if I lived in a world where I had never seen anybody's feedback on it and comments,
it wouldn't even occur to you.
No, and it's almost like, oh God, the words you use here, almost a treat to play with the black counters, because I've got my flashy black counters here, and there was a time where they were very hard to get hold of, and so it was quite cool to play with them. I mean, that's the of course historical significance completely put aside, and it's easy to say.
Yeah, I'm not able to speak from any position of knowledge, so I dare say there might be comments in the feedback which will put me straight about things. So I read a book by Panzer Kurt Meyer, who is probably not the best person to defend the SS, because he spent 14 years, I think, in a Canadian prison for murdering Canadian prisoners of war. But it's an interesting book that he wrote about his war experiences, and he's not a man with a lot of human empathy. He's interesting to read, but he's not an empathetic man. He's the one that thought it was absolute murder and disgraceful that the Polish authorities put these lightly armed police forces on the border before they attacked them.
Yeah.
I mean, they were there to check passports and
probably the same guards that they stole the uniforms off to dress their prisoners to start the war in the first place. That was the whole.
Probably. Yeah. So I mean, not a straightforward earlier good character, but he argued that the SS were better equipped than other formations, because there was a degree of ideological element. So they weren't just ordinary soldiers; they were kind of a little bit more committed to the cause. They also got sort of Danish to volunteer and stuff, didn't they? They were people who were ideologically aligned. And but he said, other than that, they were just ordinary soldiers, and that they obeyed the rules and they obeyed the law in the same way that And no doubt there were things happened, but they were no different to other soldiers. But he felt that they were penalised after war because they didn't get the war pensions and things like that, which other Wehrmacht soldiers did. I can't remember if he said that they got a reduced amount or none at all. I can't remember, but he felt it was all very unfair. They were just soldiers like anybody else. So, I'm not presenting his opinion as my opinion. It was interesting to read.
Would you go on a march for justice to the SS troops? Would you do that?
I can't see it. No. I don't mean, of all the injustices in the world, half of which were, caused probably by them. I can't see. I can't see that being the one that would get me out of bed on a Sunday morning to go and protest somewhere. Yeah. But yeah, I suppose he's entitled to his opinion.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think he was sentenced to death. I think it was commuted to life imprisonment and eventually got out after. I'm not sure exactly how many years. It was quite a long time, but it was by no means his whole life. And
we're still reading Hell Let Loose, and you've just jumped ahead of me. Yeah. So do you want to talk about where we've got to?
Quite a long way ahead. Yeah. I mean, it looked really unlikely, but the Russians have stopped the Germans at the gates of Moscow. It's it's impressive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. The Japanese, they've gone crazy. It's been they're definitely on the rise at the moment.
All right. Well, no spoilers.
There's nothing. Well, okay, no spoilers. Fair enough. But yeah, the British not doing very well in Burma.
The British have and I don't doubt without with justification, but they have the author Max Hastings really does lay it on quite. He's an English guy, I think. Is he? British?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's English. Yeah, he's British anyway. I think,
yeah. He's not particularly patriotic. It's not like he's not painted this book with red, white, and blue, has he? No, he's definitely given it to.
And I like that about it actually. No, so it shouldn't.
Yeah.
The thing is, I think you get the impression from Hastings's book anyway that really the forces that are in the Far East, they're not the best because Britain's already at war with two major powers in Europe, isn't it? Germany and Italy. And these places have been, there's people, they've got very, very cushy jobs, running distant colonial places. Yeah, they're having gin and tonic parties, and they're, their wives and family there, and they got servants, and and there's some real racism in terms of looking down on the Japanese. Like the governor of Burma apparently says to his the commander, when he hears the Japanese have landed or crossed a river or whatever, he says, "Oh, I suppose you shall go and chuck the little men back or whatever." That's not what happened.
Yeah.
It's shocking. I mean, the collapse is terrifying. But of course, Max Hastings talks about how, for a long, long time, there was some sort of a compact where the British sort of said, yeah, I guess we shouldn't really rule you, but we're relatively benign and we protect you. Well, when the Japanese were going into Burma, the British people who were in charge abandoned it, wouldn't allow their Indian officials, who were also foreign to the place, to get onto the same transport. Indians, 600,000 apparently Indians that worked in Burma had to walk, and tens of thousands of them died en route trying to get away from the Japanese.
Yeah.
And initially some of the Burmese welcomed the arrival of the Japanese, but it turned out the Japanese were unfortunately worse than the British. But the thing is, they didn't defend them, and in fact abandoned them extremely quickly to save themselves. So it wasn't a great. From Max Hastings' description, it didn't show the Great British Empire in a very
absolutely
light.
And it was interesting. One of the things I was reading a bit about the Burma, where it was talking about the malaria and this kind of stuff. And I think it was it for every one man killed in the war, 84 were sent home due to malaria, dysentery, and all the kind of jungle stuff. But they felt that they were kind of perhaps encouraging malaria a little bit because it was an easy way to get out of the war. So if you go out at night wearing shorts, so they kind of brought in these really harsh rules about long trousers after night.
Slim does that. Slim brings in all these strict rules.
It's. But anyway, so if you want to follow along with us, we're doing this book club. We've got an Amazon affiliate link. I get 20 pence if you click the link and buy the book. So you can set Martin and I's retirement.
So how much money have you made so far, Dave?
20 pence we've made so far. So just full disclosure, someone has. So thank you for whoever's clicked the link and bought the book. It's an excellent book. I mean, we're enjoying it.
It's very interesting. So, and for people who know quite a bit about World War II, it's definitely a different sort of take on it.
Right. Yeah, because just the scope is the macro and the micro, almost at the same time. It's
exactly. Refreshing.
Fresh and take. Okay, we played some Schwerpunkt. We're going to talk about that, aren't we? It was a bit of a palate cleanser, I think, for some of the big scenarios we've played recently. And I start to hanker for something small and tactical rather than larger and a bit more strategic, even though medium-sized scenarios are not hugely strategic. So we picked Retaking Kharkov.
Yep.
What's your thoughts, Martin?
What, in terms of whether it was enjoyable, you mean?
Yeah, or what, before the scenario, are you happy to play a Schwerpunkt one again?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no. So we both, I think, felt the same, that we played some quite different, quite unusual scenarios, and that's interesting to do. But just it's like getting into it's like just having a nice big fire in the house and hot chocolate to play sort of a bit of Schwerpunkt, isn't it? Something sort of small, couple of tanks, couple of guns.
You got to gulp that chocolate down very quickly, though. It's like a Schwerpunkt. There's no sip in it.
Yes. Fight your way through a village. And capture one of the big buildings at the back of it. That's what most of ASL is about, isn't it? I suppose.
Why do you think that appeals to us sometimes more than the bigger scenarios? What's your thoughts about it?
Okay, so something like this, you can make tactical errors, because the thing is, you're coming at something perhaps with 15 minutes to kind of set it up, to decide what you're going to do, and then you're playing the game and you're playing it to enjoy it. I think that's that. And you may make mistakes or whatever, but it's a relatively small investment to play a scenario like that. What I find challenging sometimes about big things is that if you make a mistake, a strategic mistake, should we say, at the beginning, kind of it's a bit of a lame game, really, and you're not going to enjoy yourself because you're just thinking, I can't believe I didn't defend the hill. It's so obviously the most important thing. And I think that's perhaps it. So I think if you're playing something big, you need to take time, don't you, to read up the special rules. And I think we tend to, kind of feel, well, let's get on with it. Let's read what we have to, set it up and play the game.
Right.
But you can do that with these. I mean, what special rules are there? I don't think there are any. I mean, we're always going to end up at ground snow. I mean, that's not difficult, is it? railroads.
Yeah, no, exactly that, wasn't it? Yeah, that was all it
nothing
was.
much. Yeah,
in a factory. Yeah.
yeah,
So let's throw the game up on the screen
yeah.
and have a look and see what's going on. So I am the Germans. You are the Russians. Can you talk us through the
So
scenario?
if you want to do this thing where you don't worry about the history, you should say you're blues
Yeah, well, exactly that.
and
Yeah,
I'm browns. Yeah, that's the right way to do
exactly,
this. Okay. So I
exactly.
mean, people can see the basis there. You see, there's a little red line. I think that's where I could set up. You enter on turn one.
Yep.
On the left-hand side. In order to win, I think you have to control. Is that right? So Germans win at game end if there are no unbroken non-crew multi-man counters in building 49D8, which is the factory at the back, nor in any stone building adjacent to a railroad, provided they've got at least one mobile non-recall tank with a functioning main armament on board. So I put a little V in all of the stone buildings that need to have no unbroken Russians in them. But you've got a lot of tanks, so I think I'd be hard pushed to make all 6 of those tanks. You might malfunction one gun. One might become immobile, one might get destroyed, but you're unlikely to lose because you haven't got a functioning tank on board.
Right.
But there's a lot of buildings to capture.
Yep.
It's worth saying the one at the back's a factory, which obviously is a bit unique in how you have to defend that.
So I have 13 squads. They're 5.48s. A couple of medium machine guns, a couple of light machine guns, a flamethrower, 3 Panzer 4Ns, they're the little kind of escort guys, and 3 Tigers, and 1 little half track. And you've got 2 6.28s, 8 5.48s, and you've got 4, are they KV? Something.
KV.
1S, is it? I think.
1S, yeah.
And a demo charge, and the 57LL gun.
57LL gun's quite interesting because it's obviously the Mark IVs are vulnerable.
Yep.
But the Tigers are not. But to a side shot, they're certainly very vulnerable to the 57LL, which can also immobilise them potentially.
Right, that's it. And so your KVs are something like, is it 15 to kills? I think they've got
something like that.
14 to kills.
76L.
Yeah.
Which is 13.
13 to kill with 11 front armor and stronger on the turret as well. So they are pretty impervious to the guns and to the tanks, unless you're going to get side shots or deliberate immobilizations. When I looked at this to start with, it's a little bit kind of you think, well, how am I going to do it? Because there's you're quite spread out and there's quite a lot to do, and there are some sudden death victory conditions you've got, which means you can just kind of go crazy if you need to. The Tigers can't be immobilized, or the tanks can't lose their guns, so they've got to be mobile and have a gun as well. So, and also non-recoil. So obviously, things like snipers might catch them. There's a fair few things that can go wrong for the Germans here in terms of you can jump back into a victory building at the end and stuff. So I kind of. Like sometimes that you can, like with scenarios, you can kind of pull the string out and let it go and just see where you're true. And I kind of did that a little bit. This where I kind of just threw them forward. We looked at the Schwerpunkt kind of guidance, as it were, and for you it said expect kind of two Tigers to come down the bottom here. I think is what it was suggesting along the bottom and swing round. So I deliberately thought, okay, I'm going to try to avoid that, and I'll try and come the other way, just in case you follow the advice. I think the advice was to put the 57LL somewhere down here, looking for a side shot.
Which I think is exactly what I do.
Yeah, and we talked before about potentially up in K10 was a nice spot for some, or H10, given that I'm probably going to go around the top and try and cut the forces off.
Yeah. So that's true. So another thing that we like in terms of a kind of a cheesy way to potentially win, which it didn't even occur to me, to be fair, is to hit the gun somewhere where you are unlikely to go in the hope of recapturing a building.
Right.
Does it say non-crew?
Yeah, non-crew.
Yeah, non-crew. Right, so that wouldn't work anyway. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. It's got to be a squad. So you're right.
Yeah,
you can't.
That's good. Yeah.
No sneakiness like that. But okay, all right. So let's fire it up and see what happened. But basically it's the usual kind of half squad rush forward, but not particularly go crazy. Then full squads. Yeah, I'm just trying to get you to at least get to see some real units here. You've got 6 dummies out here.
Yeah.
And yeah, double 6 on the first roll. And we get some fire. The Tigers kind of roll into town.
Yeah.
The fire lane come out here.
Oh, very strong force, actually.
It's a very strong force, yeah. And you realise just the Tigers just sort of sit there and can just stare down anything. And I think this is one of the challenges: is you play Tigers and then you kind of forget that you can't do this with normal tanks, where you just kind of just take the kind of like the foreground and just say, okay, like take a shot at me if you want, but I'm still going to be here at the end.
Yeah.
So I managed to get a tank.
Sorry.
I was just going to say, I managed to get a tank around the side here, which I was surprised you let me do.
But all of the time I'm concerned about the fact that anything I put to the left of the railroad is going to be difficult for me to pull back. So once that tank is there, a lot of my thinking is about how I get those guys back.
Yep. Sorry, you were going to say?
Yeah. I thought I just said it, didn't I?
Oh, that was it. That was what you were saying. Yeah. Okay. All right.
That was what I was saying. Yeah.
Right.
Terrifying, these things.
Yes, yeah, they are. So I just do a bit of scouting by stopping the half track in the things to figure out that that's your dummy. And I'm quite pleased because I would have taken some shots with the tanks there, and it would have potentially. But I kind of wish that the Tiger was on the railroad now, and that's one of my mistakes, is that I didn't quite get that far enough forward.
I agree. Yeah, that would have been better. Because I am thinking now I can fight that tank.
Yes. Yeah. So a little bit of advance.
Have I immobilised the bottom Tiger yet?
Not yet.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
But you have hit it once.
Yeah. Okay, so that must happen in prep.
So you're gonna. Your deliberate mobilisation shots are going to be some good. Yeah, so straight away there, you've immobilised it there with your 1 on the to hit there. Nice.
So
now
it's not a terrible place for firing on the factory.
Exactly that. Exactly, it's got the advantage of having that there.
Yeah. But it feels good to have one sort of down.
Yeah. So your tank kind of makes a run for it. And I don't hit it.
No.
And we've got another one now. So this is now, I mouth my gun, don't I? So, so that's all pretty
perfect.
Yeah, pretty grim. And so so in theory, I'm two tanks down now for the victory conditions of having all 6 required.
Absolutely.
And this is a little bit dangerous for me. So I've got this tank that you've turned to face the half track, and I kind of think, okay, well, this is a nice chance to kind of come and park by the rear of this guy and see what I can do. So I'm going to try and go after that tank.
Yeah. It's also worth saying this is early in the war, so this is before Panzerschrecks.
Yes, Panzerfaust. Yeah.
Panzerfaust. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So some more dummies there protected that guy. The rear machine guns. I'll try and get you to take a shot here, just thinking, okay, well, I need you to shoot at this guy, and you don't.
Yeah.
So at this point, you go into motion.
Yeah. I wish I would button up at the time as well.
Right. And we come around the back. Oh, this is you actually rubbled this. You rubbled this by driving into it. So this was you drove into this hex, not realizing it was a building because of Vassal's. I think the Vassal graphics.
Right.
And then we realized you'd rubbled it with your fog check. You didn't fall into the cellar. And that rubbled building is actually quite significant because there's the line of sights there are affected by quite a lot of things.
That's true. Very, very affected. So
it's quite funny that was rubbled by accident there. The driver didn't see it. It's great driving. So we come up the gully.
Yeah.
And just push through. You take the tank out of the
Take
back.
out the tank.
Yeah.
Crew
nice.
survives. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I lose my half track to a blaze wreck here.
But all the time, like I'm feeling quite good about your losses, but you're powering on.
Yeah.
You're moving through the terrain, definitely.
Right. The Tiger takes out the your tank.
Obviously. Yeah. But even that's protecting my infantry that fall back and they're able to
blaze,
rout, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And all of those will come back, I think.
Right.
Into the game. This is the leader in the last one in the building on the left-hand side of the railroad. That's just an 8-0 leader.
I jump into close combat with your tank and don't manage to get it. So we're still trying manfully to take that tank out.
And actually, you've got nothing to fire at the broken units. There's no lines of sight.
Right, these guys here in this victory building. Yeah, exactly.
So and that's partly because of the rubble building.
Exactly that. Exactly.
Yeah.
So
I escape.
Yeah, you escape, and then you have to pick a hex, don't you? So you could have picked.
I picked the wrong one.
Yeah, I don't think it made a difference. I mean, my rolls were so good.
It didn't make it different. No, you're right.
But I do.
I could have turned. That might have been the right thing to do.
Yeah, you were still hold down at that point, weren't you? So that was a bit of a nice staying there, and maybe just turning around for the hold down. But
I think that's definitely a tactical mistake. I think that's what I should have done.
Yeah,
I think I was hoping to get away,
or even go straight into the building. You could have gone into that building.
Yeah, that's true.
Stay out of line of sight.
And in fact, by doing that, I would have been adjacent to your Tigers as flank, wouldn't I?
Yes. Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, you could have turned to fire at that, but
no.
Would have been better than moving out into the open.
Yeah, we talked about like your potential route there around the top, and because of course it was going to be, you could have, if you'd have got away with it, you could have come around the rear of the Tiger as well. So there was there was some risk and reward there.
Yeah.
So you start to pile into the factory. Your game plan now is to just.
Well, that's right, but you say it, but there's a little bit more to my plan, because these buildings above the factory, there is significant force, and I do think I can interdict you and stop you from, moving quickly through that territory.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry, I was just getting a message here. It's
all right. If you've got other things to do, Martin, that's okay.
That's all right. It's nothing more important than advanced squad leader. My daughter can wait.
Okay.
So I tell you what, the world needs to know this. Okay, so this morning she got up early, drove into Cambridge. She just passed her test because she has got a voucher for a special offer for an Indian restaurant that does English fried breakfast wrapped in a naan. And I tell you what, she showed me a picture of this. It looks amazing.
Well, okay. I want you to send me that picture, Martin. We're going to put it on.
Okay. Oh well, she's just sent me some pictures, and she said, "Dad, it was unreal." So I don't know, people listening to this, anywhere you live in the UK, anywhere you live in the world, Cambridge, go and have a non-English breakfast. Honestly, my mouth is watering just looking at it right now.
Okay, well.
Okay. Anyway, let's back to the game.
So we move on.
I hate these little crews.
Yeah, the vehicle crew is going to do the.
It's always a pain.
Do the job.
Yeah. Do you know that that's a dummy at the bottom yet?
No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
No. I'm starting to think at this point, because you didn't take the shot.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I don't. But no, I had no idea.
Yeah.
And so I think there's one more set of dummies out there, I think.
Yeah.
Tiger's doing tigery things.
Yeah.
Flamethrower.
And it's not even in danger. It's not even that's not a road.
Right.
So
no street fighters.
No, I mean, he's not in a street fighting position anyway.
Right.
It's the other Tiger now. Going around the back.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking I can sort of ignore it if I can use the infantry I've still got over there to stop you moving across.
Yep.
this kind of space F1 kind of area.
Yeah, and I think this is what the only thing I've ever really learned about ASL is if you really got to get rid of a big building, you've got to get something around the back just to stop people skulking non-stop and regaining concealment.
I've still got a heavy machine gun, that's what I was saying, and that's going to be great if I can get that back to E6, E9.
Yeah, in the middle.
Then whenever you come into your infantry come into the building, they're going to get hit with that. Very, very. Yeah, that's the plan.
Yeah, and so we're on. What are we on? Turn 3 at the moment.
Yeah, I got to say you've made a lot more progress than I wanted you to make.
Right. Yeah.
But I've got a lot of stuff in that building. I'm still thinking it'll take you time to reduce it.
Yeah, that's true. What I'm able to do here is just concentrate all my guys though. So it's so I think your heavy has been revealed here, and you've lost a tank.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah, I think I've still got one left.
I lose one as well.
Yeah. Yeah, to the anti-tank gun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the tank.
And I think that anti-tank gun's not in a bad place for just interdicting your infantry as well, because it has got high explosive.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've making it hard work now. Definitely hard work for the Germans.
Yeah. I've still got 2 tanks left. That's a surprise. Oh no, one, because you've just destroyed that one. Yeah, okay.
So what are we looking at now? We've got.
I think I won the close combat as well at the top.
Yep.
So I've now got 2 squads up there.
Yep.
Trying to stop your approach from the top.
Yes.
And the side. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So now I'm kind of a little bit stuck because these guys would really like to be moving. These guys are going to have to do a reasonable amount of work to try and get these. These kind of 2 squads, and then it's just everything against the.
Yeah, but you've broken the crew of the gun at the bottom. Yeah, exactly. And that opens the bottom up for you.
That's right.
And you've still actually got the immobilized tiger able to fire at least one of the hexes, like a key defensive hex.
Exactly. So the tank comes around and takes that one out.
Yeah.
Which frees up the tiger to move.
Yeah. And that's a nasty place for the tiger.
Yeah.
Because that deprives me of the safety of the E9 position that I'm thinking is key to my defense.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you get the sniper.
Yeah. Sniper hits that stack. Yeah, and it's
unbelievable.
And you roll the random selection for both the 5s.
Yeah, and it's literally right under the guns of the tiger, so like getting him back is going to be very difficult.
Exactly. And me being able to choose the unfirst fired guy as well there means that it's suddenly you're struggling. Now the way I'm going to lose this, if I lose those,
can I just say the heavy is also malfunctioned as well. The first time, it might be the second time. Second time
it fired. Yeah, you're right.
Sorry, you were saying what where you might lose this?
Yeah, just basically in terms of like I could easily lose these tanks. They're very close to infantry. You have got, I think there's anti-tank rifles somewhere floating around. You've got the potential for a close combat. And if I fire it and I break the gun or whatever. So jumping into some close combat.
Yeah.
So we also
I'm not able to stop that approach, am I?
No, that's right.
It's certainly got some broken units, but
your sniper's pinning my guys. I could break some more guys down here. So you do manage to get those guys at the top here, the 548s. No, there are 458s. Sorry, back into the game.
Yeah.
And so I think the kind of the game changing point here. We're kind of piling on it in the factory.
Yes.
And we'll come to the last.
And definitely.
The last log file.
Yeah.
Hang on.
So shall I just keep everybody entertained with some scintillating?
Keep talking.
I've been sort of pulling some of the weeds up in the garden, just sort of get the place ready for the winter.
I'd named it number 4 instead of number 3, so there was no number 3. Back to, you wish you were gardening right now. Let me tell you.
It's very ugly now. It seems like it's so near the end of the game, but it feels like such a long way. But look, I'm going to go counter-attack there.
Look at this.
And I'm going to counter-attack from the other side as well, I think.
You are.
Yeah, here he comes, yeah.
Yeah, you get a
He
fanatic.
becomes fanatic. Yeah, you can't. Firing at me doesn't do any good. Shooting guns at me is no good enough. Because, and I've also got the DC.
Yep.
Somewhere.
Yeah, the DC I think is
in E6 at the moment. No, E8, sorry, it's in E8 with a leader.
Yeah, down here, yep.
Yeah, and I'm, you know, you're not that many of you in the building. Yeah, there's a lot of broken units around. So.
There are. So, what do I need when we're in trouble, Martin? What do we have to roll? What do we got to start rolling?
We'll see.
So you get you get a guy on top of the tiger.
Yeah, I've got a reasonable chance.
You have got a reasonable chance. Don't roll. You roll a 10. I'll roll a 5, a 4.
And kill me.
You're out of here.
Yeah.
So that tiger, who was crew exposed,
has not yet finished. Yes, he was on 6s because he was crew exposed, wasn't he? So
the tiger on the left there had broken its gun and gets that kind of free repair attempt. Yeah, of course.
But it's the prep fire shot that's gonna.
It is, isn't it?
Gonna make me cry in a minute. Yeah,
so,
the tiger.
Yeah, we're gonna.
Don't know when this is coming. Okay, they're already broken. Okay, they're broken.
So pinned.
Yeah.
So we're gonna turn, get a double one on the fanatics. Yeah. It's all pretty grim. This is something like a 30.
That's what we're looking at.
30 down 3 or something.
Yeah.
We just wipe them off. Keep rate of fire. So let's turn back around again.
So that's all strong flanks that I felt I had. Have evaporated completely.
They have.
Yeah, you just won the close combat, so you've just taken control of F9.
Yeah.
All I've got left is a 4.58, a 9.1 with a DC, and that's the 6.28 with a light machine gun at the back.
Right.
But I can still do it with that.
You can do it. So I have to pull out all my tricks and opportunity fire.
Yeah.
This squad.
And that's right. But getting me into melee isn't enough. You've got to break me or destroy me.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah. So unbroken for you. So you managed to roll double 6 on the random selection to reveal them both.
Yeah, that was good. That was a result.
Okay, I start passing morale checks when I need to.
Yeah.
Send this guy around to DM that chap.
Yeah.
You break this guy?
I'm breaking there. I thought I broke those guys. I was feeling reasonably good at this point, but I didn't. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, and now I'm able to kind of just send guys in for free. Really.
And I'm just hoping now for a really, really good DC throw.
Yes.
That's all I've got.
Yeah, in comes the Panzer Force.
Nasty.
In comes the.
Do you know, this looks horrible, doesn't it? This is watching everything running around like this. You're suddenly defenseless. There's nothing you can do about most of the German moves.
Yeah. I mean, a whole bunch of guys break there for me. Guys here break.
Yeah, so that's the DC, isn't it?
Guys here break. I mean, a lot of breaks. Okay, a lot of breaks.
Yeah. Is it enough?
Is it enough? Okay.
Right, at this point, I haven't lost.
You haven't lost.
This is my turn now, is it?
It's routes here. Just doing the routes.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, you got enough left.
Well, but there's not a huge amount left. Okay.
So you do have another turn.
That's right.
And I've got to survive my turn.
Yeah.
So I think
that's true.
It's looking good for you.
Yeah. The old 3 in close combat. I don't mind the neutral. You took out the half squad there, didn't you? So
yeah.
And you've got one 628 left.
That's it. I've got 1 628 left.
Yeah.
And all you got to do is break it. And you've got 2 tanks virtually adjacent, haven't you?
Yeah.
3 tanks surrounding it. Yeah.
You.
So this is my turn. Good prep fire.
Yeah.
And you got a hero.
Yeah.
Because just at this point in the game, you needed a little bit to help you over the line.
Yeah, exactly.
Broken, game over.
And then, the tank did it.
That was a lot of fun. A very enjoyable scenario.
It was good. It was good. And this is the thing, isn't it? It's like, this is kind of classic Schwerpunk. You know, it's going to be, you know, don't mess around, straight into the action.
Yeah.
Some fun units. The SSRs that basically made no real impact, did they? The railroad, the ground snow.
No,
things like that.
Very unimportant, really. I'm not sure that it even matters in this scenario that it's in ground snow.
The getting out of the gully was extra, wasn't it? Things like that, going down into the gully and coming out.
Yeah, guess so. Yeah,
but other than that, it was all pretty straightforward. Right, next time, Martin, what are we going to play? Do you remember what we're going to play?
No, I can't remember.
we didn't pick it, to be fair, but to celebrate the pack that has just gone up for sale on the Scenario Archive from the Kansas City guys, Encircle Productions, the March Madness Korean War pack. We will be playing something from there. You can get that pack on the archive. It's $20. You can buy it direct from the Kansas City guys if you'd prefer the hard copy version. We can take a look at the scenarios that are on there. So there are 8 scenarios. There are a couple of night scenarios from the Korean War. They range from, in archives estimates, between about 3 hours and up to like sort of 20 hours. One of them's very large with 16 turns, I think 15 or so tanks. So we will be playing one of the smaller ones on that one. But Martin, I'm going to give you the choice. I'm going to give you the choice of 3 scenario names. Okay. We're going to pick it by name only here. Okay. Would you like to play Flanked again? Would you like to play People's Volunteers? Or would you like to play Operation Item?
Flanked again.
Flanked again. Okay, all right. We will be playing that.
Because it has the name has a tactical kind of flavour to it.
Okay, all right. And would you like to be the North Koreans or the Americans?
Ooh, I think North Koreans.
Okay, all right then. Okay,
because I don't often play the North Koreans. I quite often play the Americans.
Okay, and I'll be defending with the Americans.
Okay.
So we'll be playing that. So thanks, big thanks to the Encircled production guys for their support of the archive. If you would like to go and buy that, like I say, you can pick it up right now. A few other little changes I made on the Scenario Archive this week. I added an extra date field that you can import your raw games on. So some people's Excel have a different date format. So again, I'll give you another date format for that. If you have any problems, if you want to import your games from raw, your record, your playing record from raw into the archive, and you're struggling for whatever reason, give me a shout. I will help you out. Martin, we have no takers right now, but I know there are some people interested in the starter kit scenario.
The competition. The tournament.
Yeah, tournament.
Yeah.
So we should post on Game Squad and maybe Facebook to see if we can get some interest on that. Because I think maybe it's not clear how people join or whatever. So we're still looking for that. We are still looking for anybody to send us a video of any game they've played. Like a little replay or something that would be good to see. And we've got the semi-final recaps to do next time. That's actually what we'll do next.
I think we're nearly there.
Yeah, because I finished my game against Tim, and Andy has finished his. I know you're playing
Richard
friendly.
Tomorrow or the day after. Thursday, I think.
And so we played Hit It or Quit It. We'll go into more details, but it's an interesting little scenario. It's very different ASL than certainly I've played before. Which is kind of fun to see something a little bit different.
It's interesting we don't use the partisan sort of special capabilities sort of more often, because they have quite interesting capabilities, don't they? So for example, I think it's only by SSR, but they can potentially move more quickly through terrain by SSR. But if they have that capability, they can move with ordinary troops at the same speed, sort of like acting as guides and things. I think that's quite an interesting thing that's rarely explored.
Well, this scenario does have something a little bit unique to it, where the partisans can withdraw from close combat and then advance into another specified hex to perform an attack instantly if all the conditions are met. So it's quite interesting, kind of. And they've got to try and get on, conduct a raid, and get off again. It's quite interesting. little scenario.
Mm.
So that was quite good. Last thing I want to talk to you about before I let you go to salivate some more over naans and English breakfasts. Tournament rules. So this caused a bit of a stir on the forums this month. So Mark Piktovich pointed out that he noticed that there were some tournaments that had some special rules, and those special rules he interpreted them as grudge rules. They certainly were above and beyond what I've seen for some tournaments. I mean, I think that's a reasonable thing. We can kind of recap roughly what the scenarios. So I think this was one of the tournaments in Sweden, I think it was. And just to go over the tournament rules really quickly, and they're not all listed here, but one was you had to use precision dice and a dice tower. So what do you think about that one as a rule, a tournament rule?
I think well, there's what I quite like about that is that isn't changing ASL. That's a way of overcoming concerns that people might have about. I don't worry about dice, but there are people that do have those concerns, and I suppose at least then everybody's doing the same thing, and I can see that there's some sense to a rule of that sort.
Yep. Okay. If you didn't have a dice tower, would you feel more offended?
Yeah,
or
maybe. Well, I don't know about offended. I mean, there's I mean, I suppose you could get one for the tournament.
Yeah, I think they could borrow them.
I wonder if they provided them.
I think they did. I think there was some to be
I mean, I think then there's no real objection, is there?
Fair enough.
Because precision dice, a dice tower, there's a degree of expense there, isn't there? Which may not be much to some, but might be prohibitive to somebody else, I suppose. But yeah, if they're providing them.
Okay. Time limits. They put time limits on, which seemed reasonable.
I think you've got to. We've had issues in the UK, haven't we, with games being too long, and it leading to arguments or people not being very happy and stuff. So they've got to be reasonable, haven't they? It's got to be It's got to be reasonable.
Right.
I think almost like the best rule of that kind. People don't even really notice that the rule is there because you've got plenty of time to play the game. I think that's the trick to that. But I think it's horrible to finish a game and have to decide who's won when it's not decided because you're running out of time.
Yep.
And let's say me and you are playing, and I'm playing very, very slowly. It looks like I'm going to win because I've had the benefit of taking longer to consider my moves than you. You're getting a bit annoyed with me because I'm playing quite slowly, but I'm doing quite well. But the game isn't decided. Someone comes over, says, "Right, that game looks like Martin's won. Sorry, Dave, you didn't win that." And,
right.
Do you know what I mean? There's a degree of unfairness there, isn't there?
They do put a note on this to say that slow playing would lead to a disadvantage if the game has to be judged. I think the problem there is it becomes. We all know.
So you're gonna complain about me? You're gonna say, "Yeah, but he's not. He's been playing really slowly." Do you know we're friends. Not just me and you, but whoever you're playing on a friendly basis. I wouldn't complain about it.
The other thing is that time in your head is very different when you're thinking to when you're watching someone think. So when you're sitting there thinking about something, time is flying by, and you're going through all these permutations. Should you take the shot? Should you fire? Should you move? Should you do blah blah blah? Whatever it is. Someone watching that is thinking, my God, this person's taking ages. What's going on? And so it's very hard sometimes to spot that you are playing, or someone is playing slow. So I wonder whether, even though it's like from an outsider's perspective, it might be very easy to say, the person who is playing slow might not notice it and might feel like they played the same pace as their opponent. So it's a tricky one. I don't envy any tournament director on that one.
No, I don't envy directors, no.
Kindling is not applicable unless specifically allowed by Scenario SSR. Now, the crazy thing there is I don't think I've ever seen an SSR that says kindling is allowed, because by default it is allowed.
Exactly, yeah.
So
you see, if the scenario has been well designed, I don't think you need the rule for the tournament, because presumably they're picking the scenarios for the tour. Well, I suppose we don't know that. I guess we don't know that. There might be some other way of picking them.
Right.
But if you're a tournament, you're running a tournament and you're picking scenarios, you don't need a rule to say that generically, because you picked scenarios which have been well written.
Yeah.
Either they want there to be the chance of kindling being an issue, or they don't. And it's.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
It's a
don't
tricky one
get it.
because
I don't understand why people would want. I mean, like, why wouldn't kindling be possible in a situation? Do people think it's unrealistic, perhaps, to set
I think
fire to a whole
it breaks
forest?
games, doesn't it? It breaks scenarios. So I think the idea is that
Yeah.
you can have a scenario that you can win in a way that the designer didn't foresee by setting fire to 3 hexes near a victory condition that now makes it almost impossible for someone to win. But anyway, okay. The off-board artillery is basically the Pleaver rule. I think is effectively the.
But isn't this semi-official now? Didn't?
I mean, semi-official is a. I mean, it's been. I think it's been
a suggestion in an annual, a journal. Sorry, in a
possibly.
journal.
Yeah, possibly.
Or at least that they were going to publish it as a suggestion. So I think that makes it semi-official. So I think if me and you are playing and we can, and like as MMP is sort of saying that we can adopt the rule if we wish to.
Yeah.
Then that. I mean, obviously we could do whatever we like, but we're not playing MMP's rules. But if we semi-official, I think the tournament can adopt it.
I mean, just on that one, I think that if we are playing that rule, if we were playing for kidneys, we were playing for hard cash, and that's like our lives depend on it. If that rule is included, I'm taking the OBI side because it feels like it must be a bump to the side with the OBA. And if we're not playing that rule,
I think they've done some analysis, and it's very, very little impact.
I agree.
But little impact is still impact, isn't it? It's,
perhaps the bigger impact on this rule, which is what they've also mentioned, is that the dice roll of 12 doesn't cause the breakdown of the radio or the elimination of a field phone. It does lose contact, but it doesn't break it. Which
you see, this is my problem with them as a tournament thing. Is how is that relevant to the individual scenarios? Is that a necessary improvement to that scenario? It's because a lot of the scenarios, it won't make any difference. They won't.
Well, it's all about OBA scenarios. So scenarios with OBA, you can't break your field phone or your radio. I mean, there is always there is a 1 in 36 chance that you will never get your OBA on the very first turn. Or whatever.
That's true, and there's no chance of it coming back, or very little chance. Of it coming back.
Exactly.
I suppose so. I suppose they're trying to remove the possibility of the game being really, really pointless because it almost the first roll of the game. You go right, okay, here we go, prep fire, radio contact. Okay, this isn't going to be much fun now.
So I think all of those could be seen as being okay. I mean, the OBA one is stretching a little bit, but they're not really grudge rules. I think is as you mentioned. Then we get to the ones that are kind of quite interesting. So flamethrowers, okay. So flamethrowers, they've changed to kill of some flamethrower mounted AFVs. So they've reduced it from 8 to 6 and down to 3 at 2 hex range for to kills.
Yeah. 3 hex range. Because a normal range.
So they actually changed it to that it's 6 at 1 hex, 4 at 2 hexes, and 3 at 3 hexes.
Oh, right, okay.
And it's also they've decreased the kills on infantry flamethrowers as well. So basically, because they feel that the flamethrowers are too good against vehicles. Now, what do you think about that one?
Okay, so it seems a bit of me thinks it's a little bit odd to kind of go, right, you got this game, there's a lot of rules, it's very complex, but I think it would be more fun if these flamethrower numbers were a little bit different to what they actually are in the game. I don't quite see the reasoning for that, the necessity for that. Yeah, maybe historically that's too generous. I've no idea. I wouldn't fancy being in a steel tin with somebody firing one of these heavy duty flamethrowers at you. Yeah. But that's me. I don't know. What do you think?
I think. Of course. I have no view on how effective a flamethrower is on a tank. I mean,
but there must be lots of things like that in ASL where it's not strictly a very good representation of what would happen.
I also think that the amount of times it will impact a game, like how many times in our whole ASL career, we've played maybe 500, 600, 700 games. Yeah. How many times have you had a vehicle to kill with a vehicle flamethrower?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly have done.
Yeah, agreed.
But yeah, I mean, one hand maybe.
Right, agreed. Right, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1 in 100 games. You have
Yeah,
now. I agree. In a vehicle, dominated vehicle, it'll happen. But even then, it's still got to be the difference between rolling a 6 or rolling a 7. So it's not even like you roll a 3, it's killed regardless, whatever it is. There's that. So it's only a couple of dice pips on 1 in 100 games that come across that have I don't know, for the sake of an extra rule. To me, it seems like it. I agree that maybe they're too overpowered, but I don't know.
Well, I don't know. Maybe. I think one of the things I would say is that it doesn't really matter to me whether the mathematics of that is historically accurate or not. I quite like that driving your tank that's otherwise impervious to everything too close to a flamethrower has some jeopardy. That creates a part of the excitement, some real benefit perhaps to be able to move it to which is something covered by the flamethrower, but it's got a pretty good chance of destroying your Tiger or whatever.
Right.
That makes for a good game, a good gaming experience. So I don't know, and just to sort of marginally reduce that,
right?
Not sure what that's about. Yeah, but also in the ASL rules, a vehicular-mounted flamethrower has a 2 hex range. It doesn't does it? So it doesn't reduce each hex. I think that's kind of a slightly odd rule for the way the rules are written.
Right.
A weird adaptation of it.
Yeah. These notes were from Andreas Carlson, who is the tournament director. He says, as far as he knows, that the idea that flamethrowers are too good against AFVs in ASL is a common opinion and used by other tournaments. Now, I've never heard that. I'm not decrying it. I'm not.
No.
Not an authority in this.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard.
So Andreas responded to Mark's original post.
Yeah.
Kind of defending the point. Yeah.
Yeah. So is a comment. So that's one thing. I mean, I always thought that flamethrowers were balanced because they break so easily. That's the flip side of them.
But the vehicle ones are much less brittle.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're 11s, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah, but that makes it sound much less likely than a 10 feels like you're going to roll a 10 at some point, aren't you?
Often.
I do feel this, though. Like, I read Mark's original post, and it's not especially emotive. I mean, Mark's always a little bit emotive. There's a little bit of, he's judging them a little bit there, but it's not desperately emotive. But some of the responses are very emotive. And I do sometimes think, well, you can agree with Mark or you can disagree. I suspect the things we just said are probably partly agreeing with him, partly disagreeing with him. But that's not really a reason to love him or hate him, is it? It's you put your case less emotionally, I think. I sometimes feel.
Yeah, and I think
actually we talk about Black SS. It's a very good example of some. Nobody is saying, I'm glad that the SS have black because I admire and love their wonderful work they did in the 40s. No one is saying that.
Get the recognition they deserve.
Everybody abhors the crimes of Nazism in World War II. It's a question of there's no reason to be angry when people have differing opinions about whether the colour that represents them is significant or not. So chill out. We're all friends.
We are all friends.
Apart from the Nazis.
I mean, we haven't got to the dodgy ones yet.
Okay. All right. Oh, shush.
Vehicle crews can never gain control of terrain. Okay. Now I assume that means buildings as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I like that rule, but it's a very sweeping statement, isn't it? Like in a tournament.
Yeah. Especially because the scenario designer of each individual scenario should have given some thought to that issue. That's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's the problem with it. Yeah.
Can you think of any games? I mean, I'm sure it has. Again, in our 700 games or whatever it is, has that ever made a difference in a game that a vehicle control? Someone's jumped out with an infantry crew, a vehicle crew.
Probably. Probably.
I mean, I don't
certainly
remember.
I don't remember. I mean, probably I don't think perhaps jumped out specifically for the purpose, but you had some vehicle crews running around then. If I'd had a vehicle crew, I wouldn't have worked in the scenario we played because there was an SSR against it, which is like my point. A well-designed scenario will have an SSR to prevent abuse of that anyway.
Like, for example, I think that a bigger impact is crews coming out and then having access to Panzerfausts. So we've definitely had this where a crew has been destroyed, the vehicle's been destroyed, the crew's jumped out, and then have literally taken out the same tank that's taken them out with a Panzerfaust that they suddenly picked up from nowhere.
Yeah, and is it actually vehicle crews aren't elite, are they? But the gun crews are elite, aren't they? So they can pick up flamethrowers and DCs and things and use them.
Possibly,
it's one of the. Yeah, I think it's something like. I don't know how realistic that is. Probably not very realistic.
Right.
Yeah.
But so
I
wonder
there's something
where you stop on that.
I've no idea whether it would be realistic I suspect it wouldn't be realistic for a crew of a tank to be carrying Panzerfausts.
No, I don't think so.
I wouldn't have thought so.
And
in fact, I'd want to be going, get that out of the cabin I'm in.
Right. So where are you going to stop? Like, we know that this is not historically accurate, that the vehicle crews would jump out. But then I think the better argument is, well, and maybe this has been snipped out of context, but you just can't voluntarily abandon crews. Just take the crews out, for example. Just don't put crews in the game if that's what you want to, because they're still going to, I don't know, cause a failure to route, or they can some concealment, get you up to another column on the close combat, or whatever. There's always going to be something that they can impact that they wouldn't have done historically. So I
quite like the rules for vehicle crews. I mean, with most vehicles, the chances is that they'll be eliminated with the destruction of the vehicle, isn't it? You're like 3s and 4s for the crew survival numbers. So it's not that often you get a vehicle crew. And I think that in my head, that represents the fact that probably a vehicle crew go, right, vehicle's been destroyed, I'm here to drive the vehicle, I'm now going to make my way off back to safety as best I can, let the infantry get on with what they're doing. But now and again in real life, you'll get maybe that crew are pinned down and have some sort of impact with their small arms. Maybe every now and again you get a crew think they can make heroes of themselves, I don't know, and go on the attack or something.
And why wouldn't you? Unless there's CVP involved or anything like that, then you'd be crazy not to. I mean, it's a piece of the game that you're not utilising. So anyway. Unarmed vehicles.
Unarmed vehicles. Yeah, go
on. Okay, so unarmed vehicles with no multi-man counters as passengers are immediately recalled. So I think that's just trucks, basically. I guess Jeeps as well. So fine. I mean, whatever. I don't really care about that.
So this is the thing where people who've been in the military say, like, I'm in the military, and I tell you absolutely what, you wouldn't have a lorry anywhere near the front line, and isn't it? That's the sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I agree.
But in real wars, I'm here to sort of tell people who've been in the military what real wars are like. That's obviously ridiculous. But presumably, you've got retreating armies, and trucks get caught up with in being very close to the front line. Presumably you drop troops off if that's all you've got. You move troops forward in a
I don't
lorry.
think any truck drivers thought, I'm going to make an impact here by driving this towards a machine gun to try and break that machine gun.
No, absolutely not. No, I agree with that. Yeah.
But yeah,
but there are already rules to stop. You can't use them. You can route towards them, can't you? Enemy trucks and things like that. They brought some rules in to make them less potent. Yeah. But you're absolutely right. Yeah, if you're driving a truck, aren't you? An unarmored vehicle. Yeah.
I mean, there's that. Now, okay, here's an interesting one. Snapshots are not applicable across walls or hedges, nor across a crest line that is higher than the shooter. Now, I mean,
how often do you do snapshots?
Yeah, really not very often. Once every 10 games. Once every
maybe. Yeah. I've heard it said it's one of those things that you can spot a better player because they notice the snapshots.
Agreed.
Somebody's a bit more experienced.
Yeah.
I think that's in danger of just giving you something else to remember. Like, it's enough to get your head around the rules without thinking, hang on a sec, snapshots are allowed, but there's this, just because I'm in this particular tournament, I've got to remember I can't do it in a couple of situations.
Yeah, and this was a weird one, because so Andreas says this SSR is based on actual events where players didn't agree, and this SSR settles this. I mean, have players ever disagreed on a snapshot that you're aware of?
Well, they perhaps have.
I mean, I'm not asking
they clearly
Andreas,
have. What I would say is that it might be difficult to interpret the rule, but presumably there is a rule that could be definitively interpreted, or you could have a Perry said or something like that if it can't be.
And interestingly, Andreas says he's heard that snapshots are being rewritten by MMP, and so there are some holes in the rules. So maybe we'll see a.
It may well be. Yeah, may well be. Yeah,
be interesting.
I think we've disagreed about things. I think. Yeah, I remember once. I think one of us was going down onto a lower elevation, and the lower elevation wasn't visible. The upper level was, and I don't think we could agree on whether you could take a snapshot at them as they went down that level.
Okay.
I can't remember what we decided, or who thought what, or what the real rule is, but
or when it happened, or who was right.
I do remember that what you thought should happen was what was going to be beneficial to your side of the game.
I can't believe that. In this last game we played, we were both arguing a rule against each other. I can't remember what that was.
Yeah, I can't remember now. Yeah,
that was something we were both trying to argue against ourselves on that, which is always I like to do that. I like to try and find now rules that help your opponent. This shows that we're just getting old and less curmudgeonly. Okay, so there's a great bit of sleaze you can do. This is related to the next one.
Oh, I like this one.
So you can't park your tank in the same hex as a tank to stop them from firing out if you can't damage that or destroy that tank on a roll of 5 or less. So there's something around that rule. And so there's a great bit of sleaze where you can drive in and then you can effectively ask for ESB, knowing that you'll probably fail this ESB roll, in order to remain immobile in that hex and therefore preventing it, which is incredibly creative, I think. All right. I like to think
it's almost certainly within the rules.
Definitely within the rules.
I'm pretty sure you can do that.
Yeah.
But feels not in the spirit of the rules.
Well, exactly that. So, I mean, at some point, if you're going to be that creative, you deserve a little reward, right? If you're gonna do. So Andreas says, he can absolutely see this as a rule. So the rule is just you can't voluntarily stop, whether known or not, else blah blah blah, a vehicle, including the attempt of an ESB, blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff. So you can't.
All right. So I think I've got a view on this. Right. I think this obviously is like a loophole almost in the rules, and people are going to find these in a game as complex as Advanced Squad Leader. I don't know that, but if as a tournament director you try to correct it, why aren't you correcting the other 127 glaring rules problems? It's MMP's I think job to sort of deal with those sorts of issues. It's silly doing because you're selecting by the ones that have come to your notice and ignoring perhaps that there are countless others. Which is kind of inconsistent. I kind of feel more like just play the game as it is. I don't know. That's my gut feeling. But go ahead. What are you going to say?
I agree. I think one man's clever rule is another man's sleaze. Clever rules kind of thing. And you are I think you're kind of limiting the fun that players can try to have in breaking the rules. I mean, I agree that you're breaking the spirit of the rules. I'm not decrying.
Yeah.
I think if someone did that to me, I'd have a grudging respect to them. I'd be like, well, okay, that's quite clever. I get it. And you have to be aware, okay, well, maybe there should have been something else covering that, or maybe the fact that this tank can't fire out now and you didn't foresee this. Maybe you had to plan for it better. I don't know. I mean, I think ultimately, ASL is won and lost by people who know the rules better and they can apply that in that situation. They can understand it. And part of this is that now, don't get me wrong. If you take away all those rules, and that was the last one that we were going to talk about, maybe you find the stronger player who's playing within the spirit of the rules as intended, and blah blah blah. Tournament directors that listen, it's their tournaments, they run them as they want. Ultimately, that's the answer. Okay, that's the answer. People can either turn up or not turn up. That's it. I mean, that's there is no other answers than that. So you know, you're not going to hear anything else from us about that.
No,
it's an interesting thought that people are trying to change rules, and even the idea that the rules may change sometime in the future is quite an interesting idea. Oh, suddenly now we can't. I don't know, whatever. Do something that we thought we'd always done before, and the game becomes a bit more of a living game again. And that's an interesting idea. I think, you know, we haven't had any real errata to ASL for years. I mean, since
the second edition, didn't you? The big second edition came out.
Exactly, and you know, there's the odd bits and pieces that come with each journal, but very, very minimal, isn't it? So it would be interesting to see. I don't know if they fixed, for example, maybe the rate of fire for smoke for mortars or whatever might stop. You know, to stop lots and lots of. I don't know.
I like that rule. Don't you like that rule? I think that's a good rule.
With your dice, you'd love those rules. We don't like it. Us normal people. But, I don't know. It would be interesting. I'm all for constant change. I don't mind that. And if these kind of rules help to discover perhaps constant change, then I don't mind that. So interesting. But it was an interesting debate, and I kind of was interested. Ultimately, would it affect your tournament entrance if you saw that a tournament?
No, I don't think it would at all. I mean, the thing is, you pointed out how really most of those rules are likely to have zero impact on most games. No, I don't think it would influence me at all.
No, okay. Yeah, well, that's where we are there. That's the thing. Right, I am just going to check a couple of things. Martin, do you have anything else to talk about before we?
Well, there's a lot of leaves in my garden. I'm going to be sweeping them up later. No, on ASL. No more leaves.
Okay, all right.
Nothing left to say about ASL.
Well, we have to thank all the patrons for all their support. Yeah. We really do appreciate your help and your support and everything. As always, thank you. We really appreciate it. If you want to have a chance of winning one of those packs, give us a shout, send us a video. One of us, Martin, will put up a post or something on Facebook or on Game Squad about the starter kit tournament that we'll try and set up to try and get some of those guys involved.
Yeah. Did you want to talk about March Madness?
Well, we've talked about the Korean pack.
Okay. Right.
So that's
okay. Sorry. Next. Okay. I thought it was available for. It's not available. No.
We've had that. Honestly, we've talked all about that. You were nodding in all the right places. Don't worry, we've done that.
I've been reading All Hell Let Loose while we're recording this.
I don't blame you. So again, thanks to everybody. Go grab the book if you want to read all about Hell Let Loose. It's a great book. And Martin, you and I are going to be playing Flanking again from the March Madness pack.
Yeah.
Until then, we'll see you very soon with the results of the semi-finals. Take care. Cheers.
Yeah. Bye-bye.